But then what came out of my fingers was much more instinctual. And I'm one of those that really listens to their gut. And like, if my gut is saying we need to go this way in the story, that's the way we're going. There's a couple of scenes I had thought I was going to work into Inner Sanctum 2. And then I got to those points in the story, and the story just kind of stopped. And I'm like, I have no idea where to go with this. And then my brain says, well, just drop that scene then. I'm like, and then I argue with myself. But no, I wanted that scene. And my brain is going, no, it doesn't work in the story. Like, okay. So then I keep going. I'm like, you know what, brain? You were right. I should have left that scene out.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Living Next Chapter, the author podcast. Now, I get to talk to authors from around the world. Today alone, I've been in Switzerland. I've been in the U.S. I was in the Czech Republic. And now I'm talking to somebody who is in my city. Like, this is ridiculous. We were talking and chatting, and when I explain where I live to people, I have to tell them, well, it's close to Niagara Falls. And when we met to chat about this author's journey, we realized we're actually in the same city. And I'm like, I could probably drive to this person's house in a matter of minutes. And it's amazing to travel the world and then to meet somebody in your own town. So we're definitely going to have to go out for a Timmy's run sometime together, but we can make that happen. But Darlene's here on the podcast. Darlene, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. For a neighbor of mine to be on the show is an honor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It was very odd to have that realization with you that we actually live in the same city. That's, again, I've talked to people around the world, and it's a joy when it's like, oh, well, this is fun.
So,
like it's somebody I can
so
meet,
you're
right?
not, you were, I hope it wasn't a disappointment.
No,
though,
not by any means. No.
You know, somebody a little bit more normal living.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't have to explain anything.
That's going to be debatable, the normal part.
Normal part?
Yeah.
My wife says that about me often, so I'm used to that. But it's somebody familiar, someone who knows that it's been raining today. And we all know this, right? So that's fun. That's fun for me. It's nice to have you on the show, Darlene. Welcome to the podcast. I don't have to really ask you where you are in this great big world of ours because you're where I am. So that's
about
fun.
10 minutes away.
Or 10 minutes away. So there you go. So let's jump in right away to the podcast. I love this. We have authors that listen to the show. They're looking for inspiration from somebody who's done something they haven't done yet. So you have wisdom, knowledge, experience. You've done a lot. I would love for your encouragement for that author who's listening. If you could have a chance with them to grab a coffee together and talk authorship, what kind of things could you do to encourage a new author listening to the show today?
I think the biggest thing, and what I hear coming from a lot of people, and first time writers, and even those who have been writing for a while, a lot of people say, "Well, I have this great idea for a book, but I don't know how to write it." I'm like, just write it. It doesn't have to be gold when it comes out of your fingers. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get those ideas down, and you can work on perfecting them later. But get those voices out of your head. That you'll you'll feel much better once that story is not nagging at you anymore.
Okay. Who was inspiring for you as a young new author? Did you have anybody that you admired as you read their work and maybe it influenced you a little bit?
I wouldn't say so, no. My encouragement really came from my teachers who recognized as early as, I guess I must have been not quite 9 yet. Something like that. Sorry, that's going back a ways. I have to think back a lot farther than I would like to admit. but they noticed from a very young age that much I how well I do with English. Not that I'm speaking very
Hmm.
well right now, but that was one of my strengths. And so, one of my teachers felt so strongly about me that even in grade 7, she sent me to a writers' conference for kids that were like grades 10, 11, 12. So it was like little nudges like that that really, and I didn't even decide at that point yet that I was going to be a writer, but um, that was one of those moments where I'm like, hey, maybe I can actually do this.
Right.
Yeah,
And beyond writing as an author, you've also been writing a lot of words for other people over your career in the past that you've done transcribing stuff, writing, helping people with speeches, and writing for some pretty important people here in Canada. You tell a little bit of your background to the people listening so they can kind of clue into some of the other stuff you've been working on as well.
sure. Yeah, I have a pretty well-rounded um, freelance life. Started out um, really transcribing for oral surgery practice. That kind of got a lot of medical stuff into my brain, um, and put me in an environment geographically anyway, where I came in contact with a number of people that really kind of um, I don't want to say jump started, but boosted me in certain directions that led me to other directions that led me to where I am now.
Hmm.
One of the, I guess, one of the biggest challenges is building that network of people. And I had someone, you're just waiting for that one person to give you a chance. I mean, I don't have an education in editing, I don't have a degree or anything in creative writing. I don't have any sort of certification in transcription. These are all things that the skills I've developed and have become instinctual for me. So there's so many people out there looking for that piece of paper that says, hey, you're qualified to do this, I'm like, I have nearly 30 years of experience, top that.
Hmm.
But
Right.
but it's still trying to get that experience. So I have these skills. You're just starting out, so you don't have that. All you have to go on is someone's instinct about you. Yeah, okay, I think you can do the job I want. I'll give you a shot. So, couple of those opportunities. A friend of mine ran her own little micro publishing company. So I got started in my editorial career that way. I was acquisitions editor for her, which was really fun. Um, so I reviewed projects that she had come in, decide whether or not they were worth pursuing. Um, that one didn't last very long, only because she had some health issues going on. So that um, the publishing company kind of got handed off to someone else, and it was time for me to move on to something else. So, but it was really um, something that it's really looks really nice on a resume. The
Yeah.
acquisitions editor,
Yeah.
um, and that really started the publishing side of my career. I've since then done pretty much a what we consider a managing editor for another friend of mine who ran her publishing company, and so I was managing pretty much end to end. Not the acquisitions; she did the acquisitions, but I was I managed the editorial process, getting it through different people, and then she looked after getting covers and such done, which connected me with a great cover designer whom I still work with.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, she's done my cover for in her Sanctum, Remnant, which we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've had her work on a couple of covers for other people I've worked on books with. And so that led into a connection with another friend who works has her own publishing house. I was the head, main editor, one of the main editors for her. Um, and that introduced me to someone else who was working for another publisher. So I met that role was more marketing, social media management, marketing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've pretty much done the whole gamut. Um, and oddly enough, this is somewhat related to the oral surgery. I know I started off talking about that.
Yeah.
Um, but when I first started freelancing, like 25 years ago, um, I started off by writing health articles. So there's a company called empowerher.com. I don't know if it's still going.
Hmm.
But they needed someone who could break down complex, what could be complex medical conditions and explain them at a level that the ordinary human being could understand.
Right. Yeah.
So at one point, I had about 400 articles
Oh, good. Wow.
posted with them. Yeah. Um,
Oof.
so that was kind of fun. And I did a bunch of freelance transcription. We lived in Ottawa for 15 years, Ottawa area for 15 years, where I married my, well, now ex,
Hmm.
had two kids. Um, but one of my temp jobs actually had me working downtown Ottawa. And that's not something a lot of people get to do. Walk past Parliament Hill all the
Yeah.
time, which is you kind of feel like you're a little bit of a celebrity. I mean, you're just walking in front of the place. You're like, cool.
Yeah.
This is a place I only see on TV.
Right.
Um, and I was walking back to my car for one of my temp placements, and I don't know, you're gonna think I'm nuts, but a little voice said, "Turn around and look." So I turned around and looked at Parliament Hill, and it's like the little voice said, "You're going to be working there." I'm like,
Wow.
"Can I swear on the podcast?" I said,
Oh, good. Yeah. I get.
my
Yeah.
thought bubble
Yeah.
went bullshit.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen because anybody, for those who may not be familiar with the Ottawa area, most every single position in Ottawa requires bilingualism. So
Right. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a unilingual anglophone. How the heck am I going to get a
Right.
position on Parliament Hill? But I answered that one of the temp agencies I was working for received a request from a senator in the Senate who was actually looking for an English language transcriptionist. And I had yeah, just, I kind of bounced around from job to job after the oral surgery thing. Um, and yeah, not very many English specialist positions come available. So I'm like, yeah. Um, so I started off with Senator Donald Oliver, whom I remember correctly was the first Black Canadian. Maybe not the first Black Canadian, but he was a Black senator who was very passionate about, um, um, I guess what would be called now people of color issues, because
Hmm.
Canada has its
Yeah.
own not so nice history on that.
Right.
So he was very passionate about that subject. And I spent, um, it was just before Christmas, and then into the new year. And then by March, um, another position had come up with the government whip, Senator Terry Stratton.
Hmm.
And that was just after um, Harper was elected, Stephen Harper was elected the first time.
Yeah.
So I was administrative assistant to the executive assistant to the government whip, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
And again, that they found out um, about my writing skills, and that I've been writing speeches since about grade 8. Um, so one of the other senators, Senator Wilbert Keon, who is a heart surgeon, very well respected heart surgeon for the Ottawa Heart Institute, um, and he needed a speechwriter, so I went and met him and talked to him for a bit, just for he and I to get to know each other, and so I wrote a couple of speeches for him. Um, and it also, put me in the unique position, depending on your political stripe, I guess. But again, it's these people you only ever see on TV.
Right.
So, and at the time, I was kind of more on the conservative side of politics.
Yeah.
So, um, there, once Harper had, and Parliament had resumed, Harper had gotten elected and Parliament resumed, there was um, trying to remember the exact name, a caucus party at 24 Sussex. I'm like, it's not every day you get to go to the prime minister's.
No.
I got, regardless of political stripe, you don't. Not everybody gets to go to 24 Sussex. So and I didn't know anybody except the people in my office, but it was pretty cool. And he, of course, he was kind of a celebrity. Everybody wanted to get their pictures taken with him. So I joined the line. And this was when people were still getting used to camera phones. We had flip phones. Okay, this is going
Yeah.
this is going back a ways. And people were learning how to type without keyboards, like how to tap keys 3 times to get the letter you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when texting was difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I got in line and got up to get the picture taken. Went fine, or at least I thought. And then I take my phone back from one of his assistants and realized the photo didn't take. So we had to do a retake. The only problem is there was still a line. So I had to go back to the line, go to the end of the line. And by the time I got up to get the picture retaken, a tray of food walked by. Well, a person carrying a tray of food.
Wow. I'm like, that's great.
A tray of food walked by, yeah. And he just kind of sheepishly looked at me and said, "I'm really hungry." He just snatched something off the tray as I went by. I'm like, "You go ahead and eat," because I'm like, I can't stand it when people are hungry. Yeah, I'm like, "Go ahead and eat." It's 7 o'clock at night. The poor guy hasn't had anything to eat. Just eat. So while he was munching away, we were talking about he asked me how I got working there, and I mentioned about how I had, transcription experience I had, and that one of the senators was looking for a transcriptionist. Yeah, and he's like, "How did you go from oral surgery to working in the Senate?" Like, I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, it was kind of neat. I met him one more time in the wild. It was, I think it was 125th anniversary of the Welland Canal, and they were setting up for some sort of ceremony in Merrickville. And if you haven't been to Merrickville, you need to go to Merrickville. It's most idyllic place in Ontario. It's like my most favorite place on the planet.
Yeah.
And right now, it's the only remaining hand-operated lock on the Rideau Canal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's just a really nice antique-y sort of place to go and relax and sit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they were setting up for this, and we lived in Kemptville, which is like 10 minutes down the road. And we would go to Merrickville often because it's one of my favorite places. And just walk around. And this one day we just happened to be in Merrickville, and my, well, now ex, notice his security vehicles. I mean, it's not every day you see Mercury, like 5 Mercury Marauders in this
Right.
little bitty town.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the Prime Minister is here. I'm like, what? And then I saw him actually walking, walking across the field. And I had not been working in the Senate for a few months, but I still had my Senate pass.
Hmm.
So I walked up to him and with the Senate pass, so like the guys would know that I'm
Yeah.
I'm
You're
not a threat here. Um, and I said, I don't know if you remember, but we met at the caucus party at 24 Sussex. I don't know how many months ago. And he said, I do remember you. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean,
That's
they
nice.
had at least been at least a year since
Yeah.
he and I had met at that party. And for the, thousands of people he's met.
Right.
And I thought it was so neat that he remembered me. And then I'm hoping it was for a good reason. I hope that I didn't embarrass myself or anything. Um, but that was pretty cool. And he was kind of known for that. He's a person who's very approachable and human.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't have the airs that a lot of politicians
Right.
tend to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you get to do all this stuff with words. It's got to be weird to write a speech for somebody and have your words coming out of someone else's mouth. Like that's got to be a weird kind of a I don't know. Like you kind of see these people up there at the mic and you're like you wonder like are they just reading from prompts? Do they know what they're talking about in the moment? Right? You're just like you anticipate that they wrote their own words.
yeah.
And you can tell some people could use a speechwriter because
Yes.
they do kind of ramble
Eh,
as I'm doing right now. And they do need that kind of parameters to help. What's kind of one of the main reasons why someone would work with a speechwriter? Is it
believe
why would they need that service?
believe it or not, it's harder to write a speech than it looks.
Okay.
And one of the challenges of speech writing is, yes, I'm writing it kind of in my voice, but you still have to capture the voice of the person giving the speech.
It's like ghostwriting.
Yeah. So, thankfully, I never heard the speeches delivered. So I don't know what it sounded like to hear my own words being
Okay.
spoken by someone else until recently. And we'll get to that a little bit later, I guess.
Nugget there.
Yeah. But one of the reasons they wanted me to speech write for this particular senator was because I had the healthcare background. So they
Yeah.
needed someone with a healthcare background to do his.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because a lot of his speeches were heart research related, because that was his specialty, right? His surgical specialty. I mean, this was a man who held people's lives literally in his
In his
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and his whole demeanor was like he wouldn't strike you as the kind of person who had those skills. He was so humble about it. There was no arrogance about it.
Yeah.
But when it came to writing speeches for Senator Stratton, that was a little bit more generic. Like that's just some of those things I could write off the top of my head. Some of those I had to dig through what the internet was at that time.
Yeah.
And just pull things from here and there. And I'm one of those people that just kind of copies and pastes from place. Oh, that's a good thought. I'll put that
Yeah.
over. That's a good thought. I'll work that in. Oh, yep, need that part. And then I just kind of knit it all together.
Mhm.
And I've always been able to do that, somehow make sense of all those bits and pieces.
Does that skill set translate for you as an author writing your own book?
Learning how to research, yes.
Yeah.
My brain works best when it has a lot of information there, and then while I'm transcribing, working on someone else's stuff, washing dishes, ew. Uh,
Yeah.
all these like mind-numbing things, even doom scrolling on the phone.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
brain is knitting these things together.
Nice.
So when we get to talking about Inner Sanctum Remnant, that was one of those things where I had all these ideas in my head. I had actually kind of planned out where I wanted the story to go, but once I started writing it, it was something totally different. And
Okay.
that's
Well,
because
let's get.
my brain was saying, no, let's go this direction
No.
instead.
Okay. So let's get into Inner Sanctum. Like, what is, for the reader, kind of what is your love letter to a reader as they jump into this story? What do they need to know, and what would you like to say to that reader before they start reading?
Love letter to a reader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's an interesting way of putting it. Um, I did not anticipate that question. So,
I like that you're thinking this. It's thoughtful. I like it. We just need a speechwriter right now.
yeah,
That's what we need.
exactly. Yeah. Doesn't mean I can write speeches for myself.
Yeah.
But love letter to a reader. Well, I don't know that I had any particular like some people say I wanted to develop very thoughtful characters, very meaningful characters, very real characters. My mindset was not that specific. But I originally the story was going to be about an underground city and what happens in a society where no one dies of unnatural causes, and someone dies of unnatural causes. What happens in a utopia setting where someone is murdered? And at the time, I was big into murder mysteries and FBI forensic sort of stuff. But what came out of my fingers was totally, totally different. So what you'll find in Inner Sanctum Remnant, as a reader is, as I said, engaging characters. We have a good what I consider a strong female lead, Aurora, who's a leader in her city government, and is not afraid to take on some of the tenets that have been passed down generation to generation and never questioned. When she discovers that things aren't as idyllic as the mayor would like everyone to believe, she's the one that digs through the archives, talks to people, finds out how bad things actually are, and then challenges the mayor on it. And it's not that she's one of these invincible characters. She's very vulnerable. And I didn't mean for it to happen this way, but it seems like when I create those strong female characters, they're usually a reflection of some part of myself. So, and what's neat about that is, I can make her much stronger than I am. But she's also very human, so she struggles with the anxiety of having to get up in front of people, of having to do all this research, of taking the chance on completely changing life for 2,500 people. I mean, that's a huge weight and responsibility. And then I
Yeah.
bring in Den, who is her main support, And he's the one that's always reminding her, Aurora, you're not doing this by yourself. You don't need to carry that burden just by yourself. There are four other people here who are walking with you and supporting you, and you're not in this alone. So, and I'm hoping that it's an I hope that it's an encouragement to other people who are reading this and see themselves in Aurora, standing up to people, yeah, struggling with that anxiety, feeling like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, like they're responsible for so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very weighty to realize, to feel like the success of a whole civilization is on your shoulders because you've decided to take this step, and everybody said, "Yeah, okay, let's follow you." I mean, that's that would just seem overwhelming, and sometimes it is for Aurora.
Yeah.
So the other thing for readers is Intersectum Remnant is post-apocalyptic, sci-fi, dystopian, so it's a blend of things. But I've noticed in my interactions with people, when people hear sci-fi, they think spaceships and aliens, like Star Trek or something.
Right.
That's coming in a later series, not yet.
Oh, there you go.
A little plug for that.
Yeah.
But no, Inner Sanctum actually is a lot more about genetics, medical science, and survivalist science. So, building a life out of the remnants of what's left on what we call upper world Earth when they get there.
Yeah.
The genetics of living underground for 400 years, for generations of inbreeding, and the medical ramifications of that, and not a lot of it is vitamin D deficiency. There are mental health issues. So there was a lot of medical research that actually went into that to, because I mean, yes, it's science fiction, but I don't want it to be totally made up. Like if somebody who's got a
Yeah.
medical background or a genetics background is reading this, I want them to be able to think, yeah, okay, that's plausible,
Yeah. Yeah.
realistic. There's also a dash of romance. We have Dan and Aurora, and I can't really have a story. For me, I can't really have a story without a dash of romance.
Yeah.
It is. I have rated it 16 plus because there is some scenes in there, even though they're clean. But some people are very sensitive to that, so I would say 16
Yeah.
and up
Okay.
for this one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So then from a reader's perspective, like I'm hearing a lot of your background weaving its way into the story,
Yeah.
into the characters and what you know. So we write what we know.
Yes.
I hear that a lot from my authors on the show. So there's elements of your expertise, your knowledge, your history as a writer for all the different things you've done. Was that kind of the intent, that you would build this kind of based on what you know and bring, like you talked about bringing all these pieces in and go, I like this, and I'll mash it together and make it into something. Are you bringing in elements of you in the same way into the process of writing the book?
Probably very subconsciously. It's not
Okay.
something I decided to do. That's just like how Aurora came out.
Yeah.
But writers always start with what they know.
Yeah.
So yeah, the medical thing, I mean, I didn't know everything about vitamin D deficiency until I started researching it.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot. I knew some about the genetics of inbreeding, but didn't really know much until I started looking at it more. And we have a wealth of knowledge at our fingertips now. So when I first wrote Inner Sanctum, it was just Inner Sanctum then, not Inner Sanctum Remnant. There wasn't as much information available. I mean, there was still a lot, but there's a heck of a lot more. And it's one of those things where, like, I wish I could kind of if I knew then what I know now, sort of thing. Like there'd probably be a um other things I would probably add to it. And I did re-edit it with the fact that okay, yeah, it's 10 years later. I've learned a lot more since then.
Yeah.
So there are certain elements of the story I reworked a bit. Um, but yeah, I don't know if it was really a conscious decision. It was more instinctual. And like I said, I had one story plan kind of laid out, and those are more guidelines for me than actual rules. I'm
Yeah.
I need the at least bullet point form of what I'm going for. I don't need it all written out like some people like to do that.
Yeah.
But then what came out of my fingers was much more instinctual. And I'm one of those that really listens to their gut. And like, if my gut is saying we need to go this way in the story, that's the way we're going. There's a
Yeah.
couple of scenes I had thought I was going to work into Inner Sanctum 2. And then I got to those points in the story, and the story just kind of stopped, and I'm like, I have no idea where to go with this. And then my brain says, well, just drop that scene then. I'm like, and then I argue with myself. But no, I wanted that scene. And my brain is
Yeah.
going, no, it doesn't work in the story. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So then I keep going. I'm like, you know what, brain? You were right. I should have left that scene out. So yeah, for me, I know there are much more. There are people out there that are land more on the planner side of writing than I do. I'm as with everything, I'm kind of right smack dab in the middle. I do a little bit of both,
Yeah.
but ultimately, it's just I've learned to trust whatever comes out of my fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that answered your
Interesting.
question.
Yeah. No, it's good. You, how many books do you see for the series overall? What are your thoughts
I
as you plan this out?
Sorry, I have 5 books planned for the series. So I have Inner Sanctum Remnant, which is book 1, which is available now. I have Inner Sanctum 2, Resolve, and Inner Sanctum, and I'll explain kind of the different plot settings as we go through them in a second. Inner Sanctum 3 will actually be a prequel. And I'll explain why in a minute.
Okay.
I know it's odd to have a prequel in the middle, but trust me, it needs to go in the middle. Book 4 is Inner Sanctum. Gosh, I should know these titles off the top of my head. Oh, Destiny. That's what it is. And then Inner Sanctum Diaspora. So the progression of the story, Inner Sanctum 1 starts in Canada. It's a 26th century, and an underground city that's saved a remnant of humanity from itself. It has slowly been killing them all. From underground sources of radon, inbreeding, vitamin D deficiency, all these other scientific things. So Aurora is the one that decides that it's time for the society to return to the surface. And they discover in their journey to get to the surface that there are actually 4 underground cities built. So we have the Canadian one, which is in the Canadian Shield up around Sudbury-ish, because there's a lot of fresh water, underground fresh water. And I thought the Canadian Shield geologically is the perfect spot to support an underground city. The other city is in Australia, for the Australasia strip. There's one in the UK, in London. And then there's one also in the Amazon. So each of the stories, books 1, 2, and 4 and 5, have to do with each of those four cities. And Aurora going to
Okay.
each of the other three. So the in-betweenquel or prequel, that's right in the middle. Readers will need to read books 1 and 2 before they understand book 3.
Okay.
Because the character in book 3 is actually going to be the geneticist that helped select the first ones, the people to go down into the city. Like she's the one that spearheaded the building of the cities. She will carry the weight of the ethics of choosing who gets to live and who gets to die, because only
Wow.
1,000 people can be selected out of however many billions.
Yeah.
So there's the whole ethics behind that and the struggle behind that. And I set it up really well in book 2. So it just seemed like it seems, again, it seems weird to put a prequel in between, but I
Yeah, that's
set it
different.
up in book 2 that it's actually a natural progression. So yeah, I'm hoping to have book 2 ready for advanced reader copy distribution in a few weeks. That's rather ambitious. But
Yeah.
but it's one of those things too where I can see what I would like to add to the story, but I want to get the main pocket of it finished first, and then go back and see where I could fit in some other things. That will take.
What time frame are you thinking of for all of these?
Uh,
It's a lot.
it is.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I would like to. I would love to just write full time. I haven't, but I
Yeah.
haven't reached that pinnacle of authorship yet. Where you can just sit and write, and that's all you have to do.
Mhm.
But for indie publishers, some people say it's good to release a book like end of October, 1st of November-ish, because we're getting into the holiday buying season,
Holiday
right?
season. Yeah.
But the experience for indie authors is somewhat different because they're often overshadowed by those that are published by the big boys, right?
Right. That
So
makes sense.
they take over. They take over things and they kind of get buried. So actually, the best time for indie authors to release books is actually like February. So there's kind of setting up for, March break coming up,
Yeah.
and getting on summer reading lists. So it's much more indie friendly than the end of the year. So that being said, once I have the ARC ready for book 2, there should be probably, most people do about 6 months in between. You're supposed to do an ARC 6 months before, but
Yeah.
I never like going by those things. So I would like to do it in 4 months, but life sometimes has a way of happening and then ends up being 6 months
Yeah.
anyway. But I would like
Yeah.
to target like a spring release for book 2. I would really like to get book 3. I would like to have book 3 out by the end of the year, end of 2026.
Okay. Wow.
Books 4 and 5 in 2027. Gosh, we looking that
Yeah.
far ahead already? Oh my gosh. And that's,
It'll be here before you know
I
it.
know.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah.
And that's just my Inner Sanctum series.
That's just that one.
That's just that one. While I'm waiting
Wow.
for the ARC reviews, I have another book that I had published with a friend of mine. Inner Sanctum was published with the same friend. But I'm probably going to re-edit that one. It's probably doesn't need that much work, actually. But I would like to get it re-released under my own brand. So Voices of Angels is my romantic suspense.
Okay.
title, and it's meant to be it was supposed to be a standalone story, but when I first wrote it, my publisher friend said, you need to do a sequel and you need to do a spin-off." And she's one of these people that you actually, when she says stuff like that, you really pay attention.
Yeah. You pay attention. Yeah.
So I am planning a sequel for that one. Um, and a spin-off of a couple of the characters. The main characters are Julia and Danny. Julia is a performing artist, and Danny is a police officer from Halifax. And he's involved in while he's on duty, involved in a shooting of a kid, which just kind of, every cop's worst nightmare.
Right.
And he's just so shaken by it. He has to take mental time off, like a mental leave from work. And while he's looking through his grandmother's attic, he finds this message in a bottle that he and his grandma picked up when he was a little kid. So he decides, as part of while he's off on mental health leave, he would seek out this person who wrote this message in a bottle. And originally the story was going to be called Message in a Bottle. But someone who's a lot more famous than I am already has that title. So I went with something else. And Julia is one of there's the Voices of Angel metaphor works in a number of ways in this book. Julia, obviously being the performing artist, has been told she has the voice of an angel, and I'll tell the story about that in a second. But she's on tour, and her brother is her publicist and manager, agent, I guess. And he's shot one night while she's performing. She'd been followed around by the stalker, and he got in between, and her brother got in between her and the bullet that was aimed for her. And so, of course, she's complete mental grieving process over the loss of her brother and the having someone wanting to kill you. So then Danny appears on her doorstep and gets his badge reinstated to help work with the local police department to try to find this stalker. And that's supposed to be really book one of what I'm calling my Canadian crime series. So each book in that series, I'll have, again, 2 books with Julia and Danny, 1 book with spin-off characters, and there'll probably be more coming with those 2 characters. But then I have at least 3 other stories that are set in various locations in Canada, of crimes that happen in those cities, and solving those crimes in those areas. So, yeah. And then I have
Very good.
a Star Trekky, Stargatey type thing in my brain too. So I'm like, I need to retire.
How much room do you have up there? My goodness.
Well,
I can't remember where my keys are.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's why it's important. Going back to your original question,
Yeah.
get those ideas down.
Yeah. Get them out.
Get them out.
Right?
Yeah, because there's so many in brain. And one of the tools I find that helps me plan out the stories, or at least get those ideas out of my brain, so it's not. So I have them written down somewhere, and I don't forget. I don't like those moments where you're falling off to sleep and you get this really great idea, and you're like, I hope I remember that in the morning. And you wake up and like, what was that idea? Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But I use OneNote. I like having sticky notes. And I like, a lot of people swear by Scrivener. I've never attempted to use that one. I've heard the learning curve is kind of steep on that. But a sticky note sort of thing works for me. So I have different tabs for character development. I have another tab for certain plot points in the story I want to make sure I hit. Particularly for Inner Sanctum 2, I have to deal with different time zones. I have to deal with different languages. Um, I have to deal with, well, book 2 is set in Australia. So there was a lot of research that went into exploring the area. Where could I put the city? Well, the geological formations there that would make this appropriate. Okay, we're also in the 26th century, 400 years later. What has happened to Australia in that time with
Right.
rising oceans and things? So there's even what's happened to the Great Barrier Reef because they've been fighting to restore that for quite a number of
Hmm.
years now. So it's trying to bring, even though I've never been to Australia, trying to bring that realism to it so someone from Australia can read it and go, hey, cool. It feels like she actually was here.
Yeah.
I must admit, no, I have not been. But I really worked hard to bring that realistic side. So all those points, like, and as I'm working on a particular scene or aspect of the book, I'll think, oh, I have to find out about that. Oh, I have to
Yeah.
remind myself to look that up later. So I jot all these down, and then as I'm
Yeah.
researching, going back to the speech writing, as I'm researching those things and filling in those blanks, I may not actually use that in the book, but it's the foundation for. It makes it easier for me to work with stuff. So how can I? Okay, yeah, I can't really use that information here or in this way, but I could probably reasonably do this instead. So it
Yeah.
lets me be flexible.
Wow. All right. Now, we there's people that are listening. They're like, I want to stay up to date on all this because you have so much going on, and I want to follow the journey, and I want to know what's next. I know I've been checking out your Facebook page for your author page as one point of reference, but where's probably the best place for somebody to follow along with this so they can stay in touch with you?
Uh,
Where do you want to send them?
Facebook is the easiest.
Okay.
I'm a Facebook addict, Facebook Messenger addict.
Yeah.
I'm getting more into Instagram and Threads. I love Threads.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of it's a good book community there. Some people I know have expressed that they get too much politics on their side, and
Yeah.
it's about retraining that algorithm. But once you find
Yeah.
the right people, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm surrounded by best friends. That's what I like.
Nice.
And I'm also on, yes, I still call it Twitter. Uh,
Yeah. So do I.
and the
Twix.
book,
Yeah.
yeah, Twix, I use that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, the book community there is pretty good too. Now that a lot of there's still a lot of politics and stuff on it, but originally Twitter was excellent for their book communities,
Mhm.
author communities. So I'm still on there, though probably not quite as much as I am on Threads and Facebook.
Okay.
And I do have a YouTube channel that has a book trailer, my book trailer for Inner Sanctum Remnant
Good.
there, who's designed by Culture Shock in Toronto. So I like to use local people and real people, not AI.
Yeah. Right.
Although I'm sure AI has come in handy in some places, but no, I use
It's
real
good.
people.
Right. You did mention earlier that you have heard one of your speeches
Oh,
through someone else. Is this true? Or can you tell
uh,
us this story before we wrap up?
no, not speeches, but
Okay.
one of the things I've been working on over the last several months, well, had someone working for me, is getting the audiobook out for Inner Sanctum 2.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I just recently had the chance to, yes, proofread, listening to a book. I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth. Listening to an audiobook is reading. This may come as a shock.
Yes.
It came as a shock to me when the words came out of my mouth. But yes, I think now I don't know if I'm going to make a habit of listening to audiobooks, but I think I'm a convert. to that.
Really?
But I had a chance to proofread the audio files, and it was kind of neat where I'm sitting there reading, and they're just in raw form right now. So there's just each chapter is its own recording. So I get to the end of a chapter, I'm like, no, wait, keep going. Except I have to manually select the file and keep it going. It's very annoying when the voice ends and you're waiting for the next bit. And I'm sitting there, that doesn't seem like it's my book. Like there's some of those. Did I actually write this? Moments. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of wired differently. Where I'm
right.
Yeah, I actually wrote that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny when you because as you write it, you have certain voices in your head.
Yep.
And of what the characters sound like. And when my Tracy Parsons is my voiceover person, she's the voice in the book trailer video. And she's really become the voice of Dr. Imogen Heinen, who is the character you need to be introduced to before you read book 3.
Mm-hmm.
She was asking me what sorts of celebrity voices would you see for your various characters? I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard. They have my voice in my head. How do I just? I don't know. But then as she's reading it, it just really brings this. It gives the story a different life. Like I'm like, it's alive. I'm like Frankenstein.
Yeah,
it's alive. This thing that I've created, and people have. So far, the overwhelming response has been this. It's awesome. It's a great read. It's unput downable. Really enjoyed the read. Deserves to be on screen. That's one of my next ambitions.
Oh.
But to get to the end of the reading, of hearing this story read by someone else's voice, and think, yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it feels like I've read someone else's book. Like it doesn't feel. It's weird.
Nice. That's interesting. Again, to hear someone else speak your words.
Yeah.
Whether it's from a speech or an audiobook, that's an interesting experience, I bet.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it is.
I love it. Good. So there's lots to talk about, and the fact again that you live in my city is even better. But we can have you come back because you got more things to write, more stories to tell.
Yes, I do.
So this isn't a one-off conversation. I'm excited
to
keep the door open as a fellow neighbor and have you back on the show if that's okay with you.
That would be wonderful.
Excellent. So we will have links for all the stuff to connect with Darlene. And when you grab a copy, not if, when you grab a copy of this book, leave a great review. Darlene, love to hear your thoughts from a reader's perspective on what elements of the story stuck with you, the characters, the everything that you're reading. You just share your thoughts because more people will come and also support Darlene at the same time as they read your review. So that's your responsibility.
Reviews
as
are
a reader,
huge.
Right? Support our authors. And that's super important. But Darlene, thank you so much for making time to do this. Love having you on the show. Thanks for making this happen today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Everyone, everything as always in the show notes. Please support our authors. Grab a copy of the book. You're listening to this going, I know someone else that's also going to love this. So buy an extra copy. Come on. And support Darlene. Thank you again, Darlene, so much for doing this.
Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help, to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy. All I really care about is coffee, okay? I just gotta be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5. Kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.